Loser, who is a member of the KEMA, which is Knoxville Emergency Management Agency, and I say Knoxville, it's Knoxville, Knox County in that K. And she's going to talk about some things here. I don't want to give it away. I'll let her talk about it. Also, let her introduce herself, just a few lines of more of what she might want to tell us about herself. All right, Sarah DeLozer.
Thank you. So as was mentioned, my name is Sarah DeLozier. I am the operations officer for Knoxville, Knox County Emergency Management Agency. And most of my day today is focused on training and exercises. So a lot of what I do is making sure that not only are we as community members prepared to make sure that our families are taken care of in an emergency, but also I work with our responders to make sure that they know each other and can work well together. And so as a whole community, we're able to recover from that emergency as quickly and as efficiently as possible. I am from Knoxville originally, so this community is near and dear to my heart, and it is excellent. I think I really enjoy my job. I'm really happy to be able to hang out with you guys on a Saturday afternoon and learn about preparedness together, and hopefully we'll all be better prepared and able to respond to an emergency better in the end. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what emergency management for Knox County is, how we work together, and kind of some of the responses that we've had. I'll give you a little bit of information about how you and your family and your community can prepare for an emergency. And then I think your next speaker is going to go into a lot more depth about that preparedness piece. Okay, so emergency management is kind of a broad term. You've probably heard of FEMA, which is a federal agency. We do very different things as KEMA, although it's a very similar acronym. So here at the local level, we have a lot of really great response agencies, including our fire departments, our police departments, sheriff's office, our ambulance care providers, and they independently work very well. What we do as emergency management is to help to build those relationships and connect them to each other. So this is an analogy that my boss actually uses, and I borrowed it from him. We're kind of like the mortar that puts all these bricks together. And so a little bit more detail about that. On a day-to-day, we plan for and prepare for major emergencies and disasters. We also help to coordinate some of those resources that may be needed in response to a disaster. We lead what we call the Emergency Services Committee, which is a monthly opportunity for all of our agencies to get together, have breakfast, and talk to each other about what their needs are and how they can be more effective working together. We have a room, it's called the Emergency Operations Center. So when we have big emergencies like the tornado or like the recent snow, things can get a little bit chaotic. You have a lot of people doing a lot of different things. And so emergency management, we open up this Emergency Operations Center for all of our agencies to come together and work through issues. For example, we had a lot of road closures with the snow recently, right? So we had our county engineering and public works, our city departments there, the road crews were represented in the Emergency Operations Center, as were our first responders. And we were able to coordinate to help get people what they needed. Through that Emergency Operations Center, we also helped to get people to dialysis treatment. We also helped to distribute food because Meals on Wheels was not able to run in the snow. So lots of different whole community response can happen from the same room if we're working together and talking through those complex problems. We have other tools available as well, such as our mobile command post, which is a large vehicle. It does very similar things to the Emergency Operations Center, but it's mobile. And we have regular exercises and drills. For example, right now I'm working with the National Guard, the Tennessee National Guard, on an exercise in coordination with our local law enforcement agencies for the spring to make sure that we can communicate with each other and we all know each other and work well together just in case we need to in the future. And then, of course, opportunities like this. This is one of my favorite parts of my job, to be able to come and speak with you and make sure that you have the information you need to be successful in an emergency. So here are some photos of what we just talked about. We have our mobile command post, which is the big vehicle, And the Emergency Operations Center is that room with all the folks sitting around tables talking to each other. So it's really critical, that communications piece, that we can coordinate and communicate and work through those complex problems as a whole. So I don't know about you all, but when I was growing up in Knox County, I was always under the belief that we were relatively sheltered from major emergencies. And we are, as compared to Florida, for example. We don't have hurricanes here. But we have had our fair share of emergencies over the years. Most recently, we have had the snow, right? And then in the fall, we had a tornado. Throughout the last since 1963, we have had 15 federally declared disasters. Yep. And so 15 disasters is quite a lot more than I expected as a community member in Knox County. And we want to make sure that we know how to respond to those. 1963 is just a number because that's when federally declared disasters became a thing. Before 1963, the federal government didn't declare disasters. Oh, sorry for the slide formatting there. That says COVID-19 response. So this was our longest Emergency Operations Center activation. I'm sure you were all impacted by COVID-19. I don't like to spend too much time talking about it because we're all so familiar with it, right? But we found ourselves needing to be a little bit more creative and work with different partners than we had in the past. So through the COVID-19 response, we worked very closely with our social services groups and worked a lot on making sure that for example, our kiddos who usually are in school and get meals at school were still able to get fed at home when they were no longer in the schools because of the pandemic, right? So this creative process to really try to solve problems was a very interesting process for us. But it was a very long EOC activation, and we learned a lot from it. So on the preparedness side of the house, this is what we do on what we call Blue Sky Day. Days like today, we're having these wonderful conversations. We also do a lot of training with our responders. So we do incident command system training. And incident command system is a nationwide approach that allows agencies to use the same language to talk to each other. So where one person might call, for example, if you ask for a light to see outside at night, right? If you're doing a search and you need light, one organization might call that a light tower, while someone else might call that a light wagon. And so if you're responding to a different place in the country, you need to ask for the thing you want, right? But it helps to know how each other discusses. Have you all ever experienced that, where you hear a word and you're like, that's not the word I would have used to describe it, but sure, right? So across the country, people have different dialects, different ways of explaining what they need. And the incident command system allows us to communicate more effectively and to understand the organizational structure of the response. We have what we call our basic emergency operations plan. So one thing that was interesting to me when I started working in emergency management is that most agencies take what we call an all hazards approach, which means we plan processes and we can apply those processes to whatever the emergency may be. If we have, for example, if we have a tornado, we may need a shelter. If we have a snowstorm, we may need a shelter. Either way, we need to plan for a shelter. So we plan for the shelter and then apply that as we need to based on the emergency. Oh, sorry. Maybe. My slide progressor just stopped working. So sorry. Thank you so much. So in this basic emergency operations plan, we have a variety of sections. We talk about the hazards that impact our community. We talk about the risks, as well as the plan and what we expect to happen. And then we have what we call emergency support functions. And this is where we really get into the details of how we're going to respond. Our emergency support functions include all the things up here. So we're talking about transportation, and then ESF 16, which is off of the slide is animals. So we try to cover all of our bases through these emergency support functions. And we have a plan for how we're going to do each of those things. For example, you see donations and volunteers. You also see ESF 6, which is sheltering. And that's where we write out who's going to be in charge, who's going to work together, what their responsibilities are going to be. And then as we need those functions, we already know how we're going to work together to solve those problems. So in Knox County, we have some hazards that probably are not too surprising to you all. Natural hazards might include severe weather, very general, right? But severe weather happens to us pretty frequently: wind, thunderstorms, those kinds of things. Tornadoes, floods, winter weather, fire. Geologic is going to be your landslides, as well as extreme temperatures. And that can be hot or cold. We learned a lot from the super cold weather last year in Christmas when we had the rolling blackouts and we had very cold weather for multiple days. We learned a lot from that opportunity, and we were able to have the warming centers this year based on what we learned from last year. That also applies to our warm weather. It gets really warm in the summers, and sometimes it gets really cold in the winters, so we want to talk about all of those opportunities. From the human cause side of things, we have both accidental and intentional. Accidental might be something like a motor vehicle crash on the interstate that includes hazardous materials. So we want to work with our fire departments and first responders to make sure that they're adequately prepared to respond to those hazmat issues. And thankfully in Knox County, we have really strong hazmat teams. They actually go out regionally and help other counties to respond because they're so knowledgeable. So just some photos here of what we've responded to recently. This is one of the apartment complexes that was impacted by the tornadoes in August. As you may be able to see, there's a house that the roof was completely blown off, and then the apartments were significantly impacted, including the roofs, as well as some of the structure. So we want to coordinate that response, but we also work with all our volunteer agencies. We have a lot of really great volunteer agencies in our area as well. So we have a group that's called the Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster, VOAD, that actually includes Seventh-day Adventists, as well as Baptists and American Red Cross, the Rescue Squad, those kinds of groups. And those volunteers are really crucial to how we as a community respond to disasters. So in emergency management, we do some work to help to coordinate those folks and let them know, hey, can you help us out with assessing the damage that happened in our community? And the data that they help us to gather is how we can communicate with the federal government to say, hey, we need help. And all of that data is very good. We also, from time to time, will go to other communities. So this is a photo from the 2016 wildfires in Sevier County. We work very well with our partner agencies in other counties as well. And in Tennessee, it's kind of a team sport, right? So anytime another community nearby us needs help, we're going to go and help them out, and they will come here and help us as well. We do quite a bit of response to planned events, just on a preparedness level, right? So marathons, air shows, football games, all of those things involve emergency management, not because they are emergencies, but because if they became an emergency, it would be bad, right? So we want to be there, we want to be ready, we want to have a plan. So how can we, as community members, prepare for disasters? Biggest thing for me is that the big emergencies are not nearly as frequent or as likely as your everyday emergencies. So doing things in your homes, in my home as well, to prepare for those smaller emergencies are going to make me better prepared for something big and bad. Things like installing your smoke alarms, installing or making sure that your house number is visible. I've done some work on ambulances. I'm an EMT as well. And it's very, very challenging to get a call at a house and you're driving down a road and you can't find the house because the house number is not available, but you know that there's an emergency going on inside that house. So simple step, right? To make sure your house numbers are visible, but it could really be a lifesaver. And then making sure your insurance meets your needs. Sometimes folks will be under the understanding that if there's a disaster, money will be flowing to the community members. That's not always 100% true. Typically, the government, especially the federal government, asks that insurance cover as much as insurance possibly can, and then they will reimburse, not pay for, but reimburse some percentage of the damage. It's typically not a 100% paid for repair. So insurance is a good thought to have. I know that it's a cost, but insurance can really be crucial in the event of an emergency. And then reporting any suspicious activity, just in general. If you have concerns about something that's going on in your community, raising those concerns so that those can be addressed. So in a disaster, we have a couple of different ways to communicate. We have a system called Everbridge that is free for the community. Knox County government pays for it, and the city of Knoxville. And this system is something that you would sign up for as a community member. You would put your phone number and or email address and the types of alerts you'd like to receive. Personally, I like to receive alerts about wind, about rain, about hail, all of the weather things, as well as anything else that may be on that checklist, just because of my job and I'm interested in all of it. But if you're someone who lives in a flood-prone area and you just want to know about rain in the area, that's a box you can check. So these alerts are sent automatically based on weather, and that we also have the opportunity to select an area and send a more specific alert to the people who have opted into the system here. So for example, if you have, a few years ago, we had the recycling center fire. You are familiar with this? Okay, I'm getting some head nods. There was a recycling center, it was on fire. That's the story. And in that area, we were able to let people know in that geographic region who had opted into the system, hey, there's a fire in your area, just so you know. That doesn't happen with every fire, but we were able to send it to folks who had opted into the system. The second option you see on there is IPAWS. IPAWS stands for the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. It's a very broad system. This is the federal government's system. Did you all receive the test about, oh gosh, it's been a few months ago. Federal government did a big test and they pushed out an alert to every phone. Yes, through IPAWS. So we have access to send these alerts. We very, very rarely send them, only if it's a life-threatening emergency, right? But that is how we would communicate if there were a hazardous material incident that was life-threatening, for example, and we wanted to make sure everybody within that mile radius knew to evacuate the area immediately. Yes? Sure. Yes, that's a great question. The question was, if you've moved or have a different area code, how is your location information shared or used in the event of sending these alerts? So with the Everbridge system, it's based on the address that you type in, and that's the one where you opt in. And you can update that at any time based on that street address that you type in. With the IPAWS system, it's a lot more technologically in-depth, and that's based on your current geolocation of your phone. So not based on your area code either way. And this is another reason why we wouldn't send IPAWS messages very frequently, because we don't want to impose on people's days with things that are not life-threatening emergencies, right? But it is based on the geographic location of your phone. The IPAWS system is also how you receive Amber Alerts as well. A lot of folks are familiar with that. So there are two sort of terms to be aware of when thinking about disasters and disaster preparation. If there is a life-threatening emergency and we send out that message, it's probably going to say one of two things. It'll probably say either shelter in place or evacuate. So shelter in place is saying that there's something bad outside of your house and we need you to stay where you are and not leave. That includes closing your doors, your windows, in some cases turning off your AC system for a few hours so that you're not pulling in the bad stuff that's in the air. The other option might be an evacuation. For this, it's really great to have a predetermined meeting place with your family. One thing that we've seen over time is if you say, for example, if there's a wildfire in California and they send an evacuation notice, a lot of folks will wait in their house until all of their family members get home and then evacuate together, which I understand that. I don't want to leave a dangerous situation without knowing that my whole family is safe. But if I were to set up with my family and say, we're going to meet in, I don't know, the Kroger parking lot over off Kingston Pike, and that's where we'll meet if we need to evacuate our neighborhood in South Knoxville, then that means that we can meet there and none of us have to stay in the dangerous situation waiting for each other to arrive. And another great idea, in my opinion, is to have a kit that works for either staying or going. My example kit here is very, very bare bones. This is just kind of a starter option. I talk to a lot of folks who they want something to get started with collecting what they need in order to evacuate, but we don't want to make that list too large for them right off the bat. So within your Go kit, okay, we recommend being prepared for 3 days. This is just your initial, okay, I need to evacuate. I'll figure out some more information later on. And I'm not going to go too in depth here. I know you're going to get a lot more gold standard overview with some of the items that are on the table over to my right. But just kind of to get you started, we recommend food and water for 3 days, a very basic first aid kit, also a battery-powered radio. I bought this on Amazon. It wasn't any big investment. I think it was less than $20, battery-powered. It also has a crank handle. It's a radio, and it has a weather band radio, as well as clothing, clean clothing. I like clean clothing personally, especially if it's all muddy and gross outside, right? Medications or any special needs. I like a toothbrush. Again, that's just me. I don't sleep very well without brushing my teeth, so I like to carry a toothbrush in my kit as well. And special needs also goes to who you might be evacuating with. I have a puppy. I'm going to take dog food. That way my puppy doesn't have to eat my 3-day supply of food. And if you have a little one, if you have kiddos, or if you have an infant and you need to bring diapers, right? That gets to more of the special needs that you might want to address in your kit. Some cash in small bills is helpful to have. Important documents, copies of your driver's license, social security card, those kinds of things. Or you can have it on a flash drive, but documents don't require electricity. Flash drive does require some electricity. And then I put pest supplies up there as well. So just very basic. I like to have a headlamp because you don't have to carry a headlamp, sort of like a flashlight. What kind of food? That depends on who you are. I have a peanut allergy. A lot of people recommend peanut butter. I can't carry peanut butter because I have a peanut allergy. I carry tuna, granola bars, things that last. And the other thing with the cash and with the food is it's there for your emergency. So if you as a person are saying, well, shoot, I'm really low on cash this week, but I can't touch this $200 stash because that's for emergencies. Oh no, your emergency is your emergency. Don't make yourself, put yourself in a different or worse emergency because you're trying to save this for some sort of something worse. Does that make sense? That was a rambly sort of statement. But same thing with the food. Food goes bad. So keep an eye on it and use it, eat it as you need it or as you want it, and then just replenish it next time you go to the grocery store. That was a long answer to your question. Okay. Okay, we also have training that is free and available if you all would like to hear more about how you and your families can be prepared for disasters before responders arrive. It's the Community Emergency Response Team Training, and this is a 4-week series on Saturdays, and we talk about all the things on the slide here. If you'd like more information about that, please let me know. So here's our contact information, and you all have the slides and my business card. So talk to your coordinating folks here. They've been great to work with if you like my information. Some additional resources, and again, you're going to hear a lot more about this here momentarily, but our website is knoxvilletn.gov/KEMA. The FEMA site has ready.gov. It's very comprehensive. If you're wondering about how to prepare for people in your home with special needs or access and functional disability, something like that. If you have a different language that you prefer to speak or read in, they have a lot of different information available for lots of different populations of folks. And then Tennessee State Emergency Management has TEMA, tn.gov/TEMA. And with that, do you all have any questions for me? Yeah. A 3-part question. That sounds great. Go, please. Oh, would you like? I can come to. Okay, they're going to bring you a microphone. Yes. I just need to record it on.
Thank you. My questions are these. Do you coordinate with the general management, coordinate buildings or shelters for people in case of an emergency? That's the first part of the question. The next part of the question is, and it's maybe a statement of question too, is that I read in the newspaper where a minister was housing homeless men and women during this past really cold period. And he's being charged with, I don't know what the law he's violated, but he's being charged with some sort of felony. And this is in Tennessee. And the third part of this question is, how is communications facilitated among churches, places like that, where the general overall management system may fall through the crack in terms of identifying the sources where people can go and stay. And as an addendum to that is that during this past very cold spell that we had in January, I got an alert on my phone that I had a leak in my house. I had no idea I had a leak in my house and didn't find it for 2 weeks after that. But I got that. Was that a part of what the systems that you put up on the screen?
Thank you. Okay, so there's 2 different, or maybe more than 2, but at least 2 different types of sheltering that I think we're discussing here. Sheltering, after the tornado, we had a shelter that was opened and managed by the American Red Cross. In that case, we worked very closely with the American Red Cross to identify the shelter and help to get people from the apartment complex. There was a big apartment complex impacted. So we helped to get those people from the apartment complex to the shelter. And then at the shelter, the American Red Cross manages all the resources that are available there. And there are some other voluntary organizations who bring in things like food, clothing for the people in that shelter. For the snow event that we had recently, there was not formally a shelter open. I know what you're speaking of. In Knox County, we had what we called warming centers that opened. They were churches, and those are coordinated by the, sorry, it's a new department. I want to make sure I represent it correctly. I believe it's the Knox County Office on Housing Stability, and it's a joint effort from the city and county, and the folks at that office worked very closely with the churches to get those policies outlined and to also communicate where the warming centers were located. So they did press releases. They also did social media pushes, those kinds of things. That will continue to improve. I think we did a great job this year, but that was very new for Knox County. Historically, we haven't had nearly that much set up beforehand as far as policies and when they would open their doors, those kinds of things.
Is KCDC a part of that?
Yes, there's a committee that's been working on it, and KCDC is certainly involved with that committee.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah. As far as the instance you're talking about in the state with the pastor who took folks in, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that case. I'll need to read up about it. I'm not aware. It sounds very unfortunate, but I'm not aware of the details of it, so I can't really speak to that one
And
specifically.
I don't know what law was violated, if there was a law being violated.
Yeah.
It's just somebody's imagination because they were taking care of people.
Sure. You would like to believe that people who are taking care of people don't have to deal with any sort of detailed bad things, unless something happened there that we don't know about, right? Yeah. So I can't speak to that one particularly, but I think As far as management of shelters, the American Red Cross has policies that are nationwide, and they've done a lot of sheltering work over decades to refine those policies and make sure that folks are taken care of accordingly. And the warming centers are also sort of managed under a group. And if you know of anyone who would like to be a part of that group, to be with the same policies, any churches that would like to be involved in the warming center process, I would be happy to connect that organization with the committee that's working on the plans.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Did I get to all of your questions?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think we're, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, one over here.
And probably about 12 years ago, we lived in Huntsville, Alabama, and a tornado came through, did major damage. And we did not have money at home. We had money in the banks. But the unfortunate thing, the banks were all out, so you couldn't get cash anywhere. I mean, not only for food, but for gas. No credit card at all worked. And so we had to go to a service station nearby our home, and the man knew us, and we were able to just write him a check and tell him that the check was good. So it is so important to keep cash in the house. And because if you're relying on a credit card, when a tornado hit banks, everything, Huntsville was shut down completely. There was nowhere to buy, sell, or do anything. And so it's so important. I just want to remind everybody, keep money safely somewhere at home or in your car. Somewhere.
Yeah, thank goodness that person knew you all, and yeah, excellent. Anything else? Thank you so much for your time. Please do let me know if you have any questions. The folks here have my contact information, and I would be happy to coordinate with you and help make sure that you all are prepared or have what you need to respond in an emergency. So thank you.
So we all needed that information for sure, because we're right here. But now we're going to bring Lily Buckingham up, and she's going to explain to us how to prepare the other part of our disaster program. So I'm going to turn this time over to Lily and hand over my mic. Oh, you got that? Okay, you don't need that. Huh? There's a little switch, right? Now you're on.
Okay.
Well, where's Robert?
Oh, yeah.
Here, I'll get skip this one, Robert. You need this?
Good afternoon. My name is Lily Buckingham, and I am the co-director of this. We always like to say it is good to be in the house of the Lord with his mighty saints, and you guys are supposed to say amen. All right, God is good. What I want you to do tell you is that Barbara and I have been conference ACS directors since 2007. We were the first layperson and, most importantly, the first females to hold this position. Previously, we worked under Pastor Alexander Lampkin and Pastor Steve Norman. And that's where we came in after Pastor Norman went to the union. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to kind of piggyback on the pastor's sermon. And I'm going to show you, he talked about the disaster work, right? Before I really go into the demonstration of your disaster response kit, I'm going to highlight some of the work in the video that we did during the Mississippi tornadoes. That was very devastating. It was widespread from Amory, Mississippi, where we lost our church there, and to Rolling Fork, to a place called Black Hawk, Mississippi. Never heard of it, but we worked it. and even Silver City, Mississippi. So before I go into the demo here, that you said, I always had to tell the saints, read my signs on my table. All right? For display only. All right. But if you do not fall asleep on me, I do have a gift for each one of you. And in order to get that gift, you got to stay here. And that gift is going to be for your disaster response kit. So I'm going to go ahead on and ask the beautiful lady back there, would she play the Mississippi Tornadoes? Yeah, go back up to the top, and then it should have a sound to it. Okay. You know how technology is, y'all. It's not always dependable. A video too about the Are You Ready? That's the title of my video, Are You Ready? But I'm going to just go ahead on and go through each one of these items that I keep in my disaster kit. Now, it was one thing that Lynn mentioned. She said, where is all your stuff? Because Lynn has seen all of my stuff, and this is just some of my stuff. It's not all. Now, this display does not mean that you need to get all of this. This is for, I have built this collection over the years. And so, and I keep it, I want to tell you how I store everything. I store it in a carry-on piece of luggage on wheels. And reason being is, if I had to leave my home and I don't have but 5 minutes or so, I'm going to have everything right here. All I got to do is pull it. All right. And inside of this, I'm going to make certain, like Sarah mentioned, important documents. How many ladies that are married can find their marriage certificate? Only 1, 2, 3? Okay. And that's important. You know, your birth certificate, all of that. And Sister Smith mentioned about the tornado that was in, I think it was around 2011 in Huntsville area that impacted Tuscaloosa, Huntsville and I think some other surrounding areas. And it was a really sad thing because what happened was a lot of the folks in Huntsville they were not ready. They were not prepared. And as she mentioned, the ATM machine, the banks, you couldn't get any money. So what do? Well, somewhere on this table, I got my little money, okay? You make sure, now you see this is fake, the little bills are fake, but these rolled coins are not, okay? They're not. And actually what they suggest is that you have at least, they started out anywhere from $300 to $500. But let me tell you something. I'm for having at least 1,000. I know that sounds like a lot of money. It spends easy, but it's hard to save around your home, right? And let me tell you why I'm saying that. Even though we say 3 days worth of supplies to store, a lot of the disasters that I've been in, it has gone way beyond 3 days. And so you need to learn how to, just use common sense, how God leads you. But 3 days supply is what is the rule. But I try to do more than 3 days. What I do with bottled water is I rotate mine out. Every time you go to Sam's or wherever you purchase your water, always buy an extra case. And then just rotate it out. Use the old and then put the new in the back side. And that's the same way that you would do your medication as well. Because most of us, a lot of you probably are on medication. And what you do is before you run out, you always have it refilled, don't you? And so therefore, you kind of rotate that out as well. Now, somebody asked me once, if I had all this money stored in my home, how am I supposed to secure it? Well, in my case, I do have fireproof, safe in my home. But someone even mentioned, why not bury it in the backyard? Well, you know what the problem with that is? What did you forget where it is, where you buried it? You got to think about that too. And so that may be what our parents used to do back in the day. Some folks said maybe we ought to place it on the mattress. Come on, y'all. If somebody break in your home, where you think they're going to look? That's right. So you have to use best common sense in terms of how you can store your own funds. But you do need to have at least anywhere from $300 to $500 saved up. Just to keep it on the side, and if you have to go into it, just replace it, And I know it's kind of hard because I know that we at 7-Day Adventist, we do the 10 plus 10. Did I say 10 plus 10? Yeah. But we do that 10% and then give a liver offering, right? Okay, I was just trying to advertise for the pastor. Okay, with that 10 plus 10 thing going on. All right. Okay. Also, we do have, I don't know whether, I can remember whether Sarah touched on CERT. Did you touch on the CERT? Okay. Well, here is my CERT bag from Alabama, from the great state of Alabama. Keep in mind, y'all, I'm with y'all, I'm Tennessee. Okay. But one year in doing camp meeting, we had the EMA from Alabama to come in and do and give us some disaster training with CERT. CERT means community emergency response team. You work within your own community here. And I'm going to show you some things that are in here. And now, I don't know how things are here in Knox County, but back in Alabama, when they came, we got these free. I think, Sarah, it's based on the availability of funds. Okay. And we received these funds free. And inside this bag, you see I got my little vest. When I go out in the community, I have my little hard hat. Got that? And then they gave me some little, these little, what you call these things? Yeah, these little light sticks here. You just break those things and, you know. And then they gave me a little miniature first aid, but I also have a bigger one here that I keep also in my disaster response kit. And now I've been in this a little bit, and some of it probably need to be replaced. And so I have my own there, but they gave me this. They also have in this, I want somebody to tell me, what is this? A hammer? No, wrong, wrong, no hammer. I'm gonna ask my husband to come up and explain this one. You wanna come up and explain it? Please. And I want to let you know that my husband accompanied me always, unless I'm flying somewhere else that he can't make it. But he is a really big supporter of our work, and I really, really appreciate him. Okay.
Thank you. I don't get a chance. Can you hear me? I don't get a chance to get up here too often. Someone mentioned correctly what they say this was. Yeah, it's
That's
everything
right.
too.
That's right.
It can do several things. On this end right here, you can use it to pry open a door or pry something up. You can use this end for a hammer. What would you think this end is for? This opening. The gas valve on the side of the house, you can put that on there and cut the gas off in case of emergency. What about this end? Water
Cut
cut
the
off.
water off. That's
Water
right.
cut off. And who else? 5 or 6, but probably some other things that can be used.
Yeah, it's
Four
a
also.
4-in-1.
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 That's the 4.
Yeah.
4-in-1. Yeah.
So I received this in my CERT bag as well, and I got the tape, I got gloves, and then they even gave me this little wrench here. All right, and so it's a really, really good program that the church can request, and I think Sarah will tell you that all you have to do is just make that formal request for, and they will come, whatever arrangements there are. And I think it's how many weeks?
So we do it in 4 weeks. It's 9 modules, different places do it in different ways. We do 4 weeks.
Okay, and they do search and rescue, how to put out fires, all CPR, I think, first aid, yes. And so it's a really, really good program, and it's free. Okay, now I don't want, if you all use her, don't say, well, Lily brought a bag. This is a different state here. All right. I got this for free, but that doesn't mean that they could do that for you. All right. The other thing I want to show you is my Big Daddy heater here. Any of you all know what this is? When your lights are off, and I'm gonna ask my husband to come back up again. When the lights are off, you need to stay warm, don't you? This is a Big Daddy. Is it? Am I gonna call it Big Buddy? Big Buddy heater, and it uses this propane, and it really, really works. And now the other, honey, didn't you tell me about the other bigger?
Yeah,
tank?
this is the adapter where you can connect that 20-pound barbecue grill pit tank to it, so it can run continuously.
Yeah. And so they're not that expensive. You know, sometimes you can find a coupon. I think we got ours from what Harbor Freight? It was a
Home Depot, I think.
Home Depot. Okay.
They have several. This one is a little bit older version of it. They have some that come out now that have fans to it also.
Kind of like a blower.
They were,
Okay.
when we got that one, it was just coming out. I know in our area, part of Tennessee, the first of the fall, they had stacks of these. They
Yeah.
were really selling them. We sold a lot.
Yeah. And then you don't necessarily have to use both burner either. Yeah.
Run cleaner than kerosene.
Oh yes, yes it does. It's very clean,
Mhm.
and it's designed and used for the inside, and it has some of the safety standard safety features on it. One of them is for carbon monoxide, and also for trip or anything happen like that.
Yeah.
But it's about the safety we use. We've used over the years. We've had from kerosene to others, and it has progressed to this.
Yeah.
And it's pretty
Yeah.
helpful and safe.
Yeah. Now, what I didn't bring was a generator. We do have a generator. Actually, we got two. And so generators are very expensive. And so it really is something nice to invest in, but it is, they are very expensive. All right. Now what we have here is, this is more like for camping. Again, you would use the propane. The most important thing is when you preparing your grillers or your Beyond Burgers or whatever you eat, clean meat, hopefully. That is what you can use this for. All right. And of course, you will use this on the outside, not in the inside of the home. And now, why would I need duct tape? To fix everything. And also, it could be used for my, I think I took out my tarp. But you can use it for temporary shelter too, if you got a tarp. All right, so you need this, and then it's always have the little masking tape as well. I have my matches. Oh, they look like a pill ball, doesn't it? If you want to keep your matches from getting wet, you can use a pill box. I think some of us, not all, you can use those. And then I just got some extra matches here. Also, keep my face mask. You never know. Also, keep my mosquito repellent spray in my kit. I also keep gloves. Keep gloves in there too. That's really important. You might need these. You are going to need them. And I got a lot of multiple kits. You never know when you're going to need. I've never opened these because I got so many other little gadgets. This is what? There's a compass on there. It's a whistle. It's I think it's a thermometer on here. And I always tell my husband knows not to follow me in the woods that I'm leading, because he knows we're going to get lost. Okay, I'm not very good with directions. All right. But so I would need a compass. And so this is what this is. You can find these little things at Walmart or anywhere. And they come really, really handy. I also got a little magnifying glass too on it. And so, yeah, I got a little magnifying glass on it. I'm having a hard time opening. There it is. You know, if you got a little problem reading, little magnifying glass on it as well. So you can use that. Now, this one time our lights went out and we didn't want to pull out the generator because we just knew they were going to come back on pretty soon. And so this is the one that I use in the master bathroom. And I tell you, I think it's on the LD, is on the LED? Yeah, setting. And what you can do too is you can take this one and hang it on something. All right. But that's not, it has other little, like a nightlight on it and so forth. And so it'll last for a couple of days as long as you run it on the LED. They say up to 285 hours. That's equal to really 11 days. I don't trust it on 11 days, y'all. Okay? So you better have a spare one. This is another one. We loaned this one out to our neighbors when our lights went out. And this one is really, really bright. Now, when you have these gadgets, you also need what with it? Extra batteries, right? Because it's not going to last forever. So you definitely need extra batteries. All right? Yeah, and when you no longer need it, remove the batteries because you don't want them to corrode and leak, and then you got to go out and buy some new stuff. Here is another one. I love her because she is so bright and she's small. I got that from Walmart. And then she has another little light at the bottom if you don't want to run that one. You know? You can use that one when you're trying to find those roll-up coins that you're supposed to have saved up. All right? All right. And so that's really cute. Now, this one here is, they stay plugged in our home because this one is not working. It's the other one. We keep it in the wall socket. And when the lights goes off, it comes on. So you can find your way around the home. And when my father was alive, I got him one of these because his lights went out and he couldn't find his way around the home. And so it really comes in. All you do is plug it in into the outlet there. And when you plug it in, the lights are going to go off. Only it'll come on when your lights are off, okay? We have this one. This is my husband's baby. This is his baby, y'all. He loves this one. I won't. It flickers. Yeah, rechargeable. Yeah. And this one is a little pricey, isn't it? Not too bad? Okay. And yeah, we've had this one a while, but it's really, really bright. This one is a NOAA. It's a radio. It's a siren, and it'll hand crank. It's hand crank. Y'all, you had to eat your Cheerios in the morning to be winding on this baby all day. But we used to take her to Huntsville, and she's a little weak right now. But if you were stranded and trying to get somebody's attention, that's what you want it for. It also, you see how it's blinking, flashing rather? And so it's really, really comes in handy. And like I say, it's a radio on here too. I'm not going to even try to play it. It's in, but that is really, really handy. I don't have my NOAA radio. And with my radio, I be honest with you, I can't find it. I don't know where it is. And, but it also had like a night lamp on it. So if you were reading your Bible, you would be able to read in the dark. We also encourage in your kit, always place a Bible. You know, so we keep a Bible there. And then I keep a little notepad. Now, why would I need a notepad and a pen and a pencil or pen? Why would I need that? You know, when you're so devastated and somebody's trying to give you information, you're not going to be able to retain it in your head, right? So you need something to write on, all right? And so that's why I keep that in my bag. Here's my, what are these? Walkie-talkies. You know, you're trying to communicate with someone. I can't remember what is the distance, the range of this is, but about 20, yeah. So these are really come in handy. And also, we utilize these in our large warehouses as well, walkie-talkies. And this is an old-fashioned one. I just keep her around. You're probably not going to be able to find the battery too much for this one. But I keep her around, and I'm not going to try to turn her on. But I keep her around. She does work. Okay. In terms of clothes, I always keep my jogging, a sweat suit, always in there in my kit. Now, here's the thing to these clothes now that you put in there. You better, if you don't want to look like Jeffro Bodine, you better make sure you switch up every now and then. You know, switch up, because we all kind of, you know, gain a little bit here now and then. And so you want to make sure you're able to get into it, okay? The other thing that I have is, when it comes to the grandbabies, to keep them occupied. Let's say you had to go to a shelter. You want to be able to entertain the children, right? And so what I got in here, crayon, coloring books, a lot of little things that would keep them company, puzzles. Because keep in mind, the electronics are not going to be working, right? So you need to make sure you have something to keep the babies occupied. All right. So like I said, puzzles and coloring books and crayon, and even some little writing pads and so forth. So don't forget the children. All right. Also, we have MREs. You know, you can buy them online. And my understanding, they last, the shelf life is anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Now, this would probably need to be discarded, because I know it's longer than 3 to 5 years on this one. And this one is spicy. Well, it's a vegetarian meal, all right? But you can get whatever you want. All right, I also keep my hygiene kit. You go into a shelter, you need to have your own hygiene, comfort care kit, personal hygiene kit. I got towels in here, soap, toothbrush, comb, everything in here. So you need to make sure. And you know, we have to get to a point as Christians to understand that when you are preparing for all these kits and stuff, that doesn't mean that you don't trust God. We have to prepare ourselves even for the coming of Christ. And while we're here, God wants us to prepare ourselves. And so you got to, when it comes to disasters, the first responders, they're going to be busy taking care of infrastructure and everything else, or trying to do search and rescue. They may not be able to get to you for days. That's why you really need to think about and making sure you prepare for you and your family. And because like we're going back to Alabama, a lot of those folks didn't even have gas in their cars. You know, you saints love to ride around on fumes. Look, I'll do that. And then say, praise the Lord. Look, God's going to take care of you. But you need to use common sense too. You need to make sure you have gas in your car. I don't ever let my tank when it gets half full, I'm filling it up. And my husband knows me. Now he'll drive, you know, when I'm with him, you know, he's almost near empty. But I don't roll like that, y'all. And so, and then too, it's a psychological thing with me. If it's half full, then I don't have to pay a lot of money to fill it up completely. Y'all understand what I'm saying? It doesn't take as much gas. It's just a psychological thing for me. But that's me. All right. We have like, you need a poncho in your bag, and you need an umbrella. You just never know. And also like to have something, if I buy something, I want to be able to keep it cool. I use this little bag here. Also, for those of you who are not familiar, these are our disaster response buckets. These are buckets that we distribute when we're doing disaster work, when we're out there. And not an empty bucket either. All right? They could be cleaning supplies in these buckets, or some time we even use them for personal hygiene kits as well. You can even make them up for food basket. But it's up to you. But these are our buckets, and we've given out thousands, hundreds of thousands of these buckets here. Now this is just a bucket, just a half a bucket. And because you never know when it will come in handy. One thing, you can sit on it. One thing, you can sit on this one. Now, I have another bucket. Who can tell me what type of bucket this will be used for? This is a toilet, right? Now, you can get a fancy portable toilet, but this works very well. And just put a plastic bag in it, put a little water in it, and use this toilet spray in it. Or you can get a chemical to put inside of it. Yeah, you can do that as well. And so with this one, you can sit on it. Don't worry, y'all, it's clean. So when you shake my hand, all right. You can open this as well, all right? And so this is really nice. This really come in handy. I've seen them at Walmart, not like this, the actual commode type. And it's just your preference. It's just, since I have that one, I don't worry about it. And I always keep my paper towel, my paperware in here. I got plates, plasticware, cups, toilet paper or tissue in there. I have that. And always make sure you have enough garbage bags. You keep enough of those with you. Now, is there anybody in the military? Anybody been to the military? Okay, Brother Allen, would you come up? Yeah. Now, who can tell me what this is? Okay, it's a shovel, but what type of shovel? Don't say anything, Brother Allen. What type of shovel is this? You hold this. This is an E-tool, entrenching tool. And they use it with the military. And one young man that he told me he fried an egg on it. Now, show how you can fry an egg on there by extending it. If you can remember, I know it's been a long time.
I never did use one.
You never did use one? Okay. Let me show you.
Marshall, he's probably.
Yeah.
Once you get it unlocked.
Whoops. This is what it does. That's for the shovel. If you need to dig a hole, if you got to dig a hole, you can, you make the adjustment here and it holds and you can dig. You can either use it as an axe, cutting something, all right? And also, if you need to dig something, you can do it this way. I think it goes this way, and then this, and this, yeah, like a hole. And you bring this out. Am I doing it right? Yeah, I'm doing it like that. Yeah. Yeah. And you can use it as a pick. Also use it as a pick. All right? but it's called an E-tool. Entrenching tool is what it is. And for tool is the short name for it. And you can probably get these anywhere, order them, or get it on at a military base or something. And now, you all know what this is. You know what this is, right? This is a can opener. You need a can opener because if the electricity is off, your electric can opener is not going to work, right? Okay, it's not going to work. Now, who can tell me what this is? Who can tell me what this is? It's a can opener. What type of can opener is it? She's a P38. There's a P51 as well. The P38 is a can opener that the Army, this said this was the greatest and smartest invention by the Army. And they said because it was small to carry around and it was tough. And they even said that if you were well experienced in using it, it opened a can a lot faster than this. And it really does. I've tried it. It really does. And they call it tough because, what's that cowboy name? Actor John Wayne. He was tough. And so they call it kind of a nickname like John Wayne. The P38. That's what she is. P38. She's the baby of the P51. All right? Y'all look that up. You got a P51 and you got a P38, and this is the P38. It's a can opener. And another good thing about it is you can always put her on a chain and carry it around with you. All right? So that's pretty much. Oh, always carry bleach. You always need bleach. And I also carried, I can't see it on the table, it probably didn't bring it, but it is like if you had concerns about the water, there was some type of tablets that I also have too. You know, if you have questions about that. Now, I'm going to ask a question. I showed you something that if you look on the table, it's almost identical. It matches something else. Can anyone tell me what that is? It's something that I showed that was kind of, that was kind of camouflage, but it matched something else. And if you can answer that, then you're going to get this poncho here. If you can answer it, then you can answer. All right. And the question is, there is something that I showed on this table, I showed it to you, that is more camouflage and is almost identical in terms of color. All right, I'm gonna give you a little help. I had something that pretty much came to very close to this bucket. Who can tell me what it was? Can you tell me? All right. Here's my girlfriend right here. The gloves. And she pretty much matches that. All right? And so, I got my little drinking ball here. And I got these some little mosquito coil. You know, you never know where you are. And then too, how many of you know how to start a fire? Oh, wow. Pathfinders. Okay. Well, we have these. I got this and my little fire starter with me and my little, you got to go back to the primitive days, we got so used to having everything convenient for us, right? You know how it is when that electricity goes off, especially in the summertime. Woo, it's hot. Yes. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Absolutely. So, what Pastor, since you answered that, or you gave that great information, I'm going to give you something, and because you answered it, it qualified Mrs. Robinson to get one too. This is for your. This is going to be for your starting your disaster kit. All right. Now don't fight over the color. I'm assuming she would take that one and you take the dark green. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Just letting you know. All right. So that's pretty much what it is. I don't know whether they're able to get the video up and going with the sound. I don't know. How are you guys doing in the back? It's still not playing? Oh, you can play it now? Yeah, it is music in the background. Okay. What did she say? Oh, you're just going to go ahead and just play some. Okay. All right, you can do that. Are you ready? Okay, that's it. Community Services Disaster Response. And I encourage each one of you, and I'm going to have Lynn to come up and Brother Allen to come up as well. I encourage each one of you to join their team. You know, East Tennessee, you got disasters happening here too. And so when something happens, we want to be able to have a organized team here in Knoxville, whereby we wouldn't have to bring another team outside of Knoxville. It's very expensive when we have to bring a team from one state into another. And so join them. They've done an excellent job in putting their program together, and I encourage each one of you. And I always say, every church member is part of community services, whether you know it or not. You don't have to hold an office, but you are a member of community service. When you're reaching out to your community or your neighbor, or when you're reaching out to someone you see in church that going through some things, that's community services. And so I encourage each one of you to join their team. And don't they look lovely in their shirts? This is the color. This is our field uniform. And the work that we do within our food pantry, it is a blue community service uniform or t-shirt. And so I encourage you guys to be a part of a winning team. Community service is a winning team. And like I told the pastor earlier, I look at it's evangelism. When you meet people, immediate needs, the basic needs, they open their hearts to you. And they remember the great work that you have done. And so reaching their needs, just like Jesus did. He reached the people's needs. And then he said, what? Follow me. And that's what we have to do. We have to reach the needs of people. Now, I do want to say this before Lynn, she got some gifts she wants to give away too. What I do want to say is that a lot of the gold shirts that you saw were non-Adventists. We had a sitting judge, a retired judge. We have people who own businesses, people that were affluent people in their community. And you know what they did, especially in Selma? They were proud to wear our color here, our uniform. And they told us they'd never seen anything like this before. And so we need to do the same thing. And I don't have a problem. Everybody need to work together. Everybody need to work together in order to form a perfect organization. And so, Lynn, do you have anything to say?
I do want to say thank you to Pastor Smith and to Lily Buckingham for coming here and sharing this information with us. It's very important. After everything that happened in January, I thought it was very important that we get you information so that you could be prepared, because we know these emergencies are only going to continue to happen, and they're going to get worse, and they're going to come quicker. So we need to be prepared, and we of all people should always be prepared for an emergency, right? We know that this is going to happen. So I have some things I want to give away. So in January, along with right before all the disaster happened, I got stranded alongside of the road. And just so you have a clear picture, I'm an older woman. It was dark, and I was in a black car alongside of the road. I had no light and no way to protect myself. So I thought about things that I needed to have in my car if something were to happen to me, and I bought a few of these things to give away. And I've decided that I'm going to give a set of these, are lights that you can put on your car to Lily and Robert for
Thank you.
coming and helping us.
Thank you.
Then I have these are another set of lights like those, but a different form. These are LED lights, they're flares, and they also work like, and I'm going to hand a set of these to Pastor Smith for coming and taking care of us. Now for the rest of you, okay, I got one more. Who do I give? All right. So for the rest of you, we have umbrellas. Please feel free to take the umbrellas. We want you to take them. I also have. What?
You want everybody to get one, nobody taking 5 umbrellas.
Well,
It's for your
Okay.
disaster kit.
yes,
Yeah.
and then I have masks, and then I also have some kits that I got from the last event that we did from the Mississippi ACS, and I have a few of those. And I just want you guys to feel free to take those things. I also have, let's see what else I have here. I have a set of triangles for the road, and these I'm going to give to the pastor for allowing me to do this event. You're welcome. So let's just close with a word of prayer, I think.
Yeah.
And then you guys could come and get, yes. Okay, well, let I have a question and then.
Yeah, they are. They water tablets. Yeah, yeah. I can't remember exactly what it is. Yeah. Chlorine and bleach. Yeah. Yes. Questionable water. Yeah. You're welcome.
So before I turn this over to the pastor, I just want to say thank you to our media team who stayed this afternoon and gave us an opportunity to live stream this event. So you can go back on Facebook and watch this event from beginning to end again
Turn this off.
in case you missed something. Like I didn't get to see hardly anything. So it will be good for me to go back and listen to the toolkit and go back and listen to some of these things so that I can also prepare myself and my family for eventualities. Let me turn this over to the pastor.
If you enjoyed yourself with the information, let's give a hand clap. Speaking from first, hey, can you turn this down just a little bit, please? Yeah, yeah. There we go. Speaking from firsthand experience, y'all saw the time when they were in Jackson, Mississippi. Lady C and I was there, and the level of organization that took place, the entire city of Jackson was out of water. But because of Barbara Barnes and Lily Buckingham, right? Am I correct with that? Am I correct with the last? Okay, I want to give you a wrong last name, especially with your husband sitting there. Um, um, they were able to organize and orchestrate an effort where we were instrumental in giving water out to the city. You saw the drive-through, and what the reason I'm bringing that up is because when we partner together, we can move mountains. Every church in Jackson, Mississippi, and some of the surrounding area churches, including myself, we were 45 minutes away. But because I had a connection with the pastors in Jackson, and we were ACS, and the South Central Conference Community Service was working towards giving out the water, we said we couldn't help but be a part of it. And so when a disaster strikes, our first order of business, Smith, shouldn't be to run, but it should be to see what we can do to help. And I think, but if we're prepared, we can be willing to more think clearly so we can help. And so, Lily, I want to thank you and your husband. I've never seen the 4-in-1 tool. I would have said it was a hammer too. And Lynn and Brother Anthony, I want to thank you all for this as well. And so let us bow our heads for prayer. Lynn, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Okay. Or Brother Anthony, did you have anything? You sure? Okay. Okay. I was going to pray.
All right. So again, I want to thank you and I want to encourage you. Please, the reason we're doing these events, we are going to do another event in September. When we do the event in September, we're specifically going to focus on. So today was an introduction to disaster preparedness. In September, we're going to specifically focus on specific populations, children, pets, the elderly, and the disabled. And if I can squeeze in, we'll do the poor. Because those are the populations that are most drastically affected by disasters. Because kids, they don't know what to do. It's scary for them. Pets have no way to express their fear. The disabled, I mean, I just think about we're going to do active shooter here next week. What if we had a disabled person? They can't get down on the floor. We have to begin to think about the populations that are affected by these things and begin to have a plan. We're also going to actively pursue sheltering for this church so that we can begin to work to make this a shelter place. So in case there's a disaster, you all have a place to come and the community will have a place to come and we'll be prepared for them. All right? So please think about these things and I'll turn this over to have closing prayer for the pastor.
Also want to take just a moment to thank the Chattanooga crew for coming. It's 50 minutes, but they came up in support of the community service program. So I want to thank you all, and I also want to thank you all for the ones that stayed again. We have to function we have to function with the mindset where 2 or 3 are gathered, and so we're 2 or 3, but God is here with us, and we're better for the information and what we receive. So let us pray. Eternal Father, Lord, we thank you for your love, your kindness, and grace, and we thank you for those that have dedicated their lives or a portion of their life to community service and a portion of their life to disaster preparedness. Lord, allow this not to have just been an event, but something that will spark a movement, something that will spark something in us so that we can be prepared, because we know, well, troubled times are already here, but we need to just get prepared for them. We thank you and we love you. Be with us as we're dismissed from this building, but never dismiss us from your presence. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.